conviction and enthusiasm. Paul witnesses a great confession of Jesus Christ. Although Felix trembled as he listened, the rascality, the rascality and cupid, cupidity and covetousness of this man triumphed. He had his chance. He sent for Paul many times, but he wanted a bribe, not salvation. Those 2 years that Paul languished in prison are silent years in the life of Paul. Perhaps he chafed under it all. We don't know. We don't know that the hand of God was manifested in all this, and his purposes were carried out. Whose comforting this can be for us when our activity seemingly comes to a standstill. Paul appeals before Festus, verse 1. Now, when Festus was come into the province, after 3 days he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chiefs of the Jews informed him against Paul and besought him and desired favor against him that he would send for him to Jerusalem, saying, "Wait in the laying wait in the way to kill him." But Festus answered that Paul should be kept in Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. It seems that Festus understood the situation. I'm of the opinion that Festus told him about Paul's imprisonment, and I think explained the circumstances. I'm sure he told Festus that he had brought him to Caesarea to protect him from being put to death by the Jews. So when Festus gets word from the Jews that they want Paul in Jerusalem, he says, "Oh, I won't bring him down here. I'm going back to Caesarea myself. I'm not going to stay around in Jerusalem." Here was another Roman who preferred Caesarea to Jerusalem. The enemies of Paul certainly didn't waste any time getting to the new governor to try to get a judgment against Paul. I don't know whether Festus was actually aware of our plan to of their plan to ambush the party and kill Paul. I think he was, but it doesn't really say that he knew about it. However, he refused to accede to their demands and requested instead that they come to Caesarea to bring charges. Verse 5. Let them therefore uh, let them therefore, said he, which among you are able, go down with me and accuse this man, if there be any wickedness in him. And when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down into Caesarea, and the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, commanded Paul to be brought. And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood around about and laid many and grievous complaints about against Paul, which they could not prove. Paul is again called upon to defend himself against the accusation of the Jews. However, it provides an opportunity to present the gospel to Festus. While he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar have I offended any thing at all. But Festus, willing to do the Jews a pleasure, answered Paul and said, "Wilt thou go up to Jerusalem and there be judged of these things before me?" This Festus is another rascal. Paul is not only in the midst of the den of thieves, he is in the midst of a bunch of rascals.